Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Dia. My name is Matilde Guidelli. I'm a curator here, and I had the great pleasure to collaborate with Senga Nengudi and Svetlana Kitto, editor at Dia, on the beautiful book that we are celebrating tonight, Senga Nengudi, Populated Air. Before diving in with introductions, and Max, I think you can magnify Senga now, who is joining us on Zoom from Colorado Springs. Hi, Senga.
Hi.
Thank you, Senga, for joining. And before diving in, I wish to thank everyone at Dia. So many people helped make this book possible, but in particular, Jessica Morgan, Umberto Moro, and Camila Foreman, and everyone who helped making tonight's event possible too, Kim Golding, Max Tannon, Emily Markert, and the visitor service team. Tonight, as many of you know, an exhibition of Senga's work, an exhibition of your work, Senga, has been on long-term view in Beacon since 2022, and it will close, if you've not seen it, next March. So please, if you have not had a chance, take the opportunity, the holidays are coming. And the exhibition presents, as we were researching the exhibition that presents selection of Senga's work from the late 1960s to today, including a work that Senga realized on site, inspired by the many weeks of installation in Beacon, as over visits to Colorado Springs, where Senga lives. As we were researching your work together and selecting the work for the show, we started realizing that there was a trove of materials that you, over the years, had realized on paper that both support your work and expand our understanding of it. And these materials are predominantly on paper, drawings, such as the one that you see around you from the late 70s, writings, poems, performance scores, and then performances that Senga realized exclusively for the camera. And so we decided, as a complement to the exhibition of sculptures and installation, to realize this book together. And tonight, we wish to thank, besides Senga, who is going to say a few words and at the end is going to read 3 poems from the book, the friends and collaborators who joined us to respond to the many offers of the book. And we have tonight, and they will all come to the podium one after the other, Bobby Jo Smith III, who worked with Senga, Svetlana and me on the book to design it, and A.B. Spellman, the venerable A.B. Spellman, poet and music writer, who responded to the book and to Senga's work with a beautiful new poem, which is collected in the book. T. Lax, curator of media performance at MoMA, who, among other many beautiful exhibitions, realized an exhibition dedicated to just above Midtown, gallery where Senga was shown. Yuniya Eddie Kwon, who with Senga collaborated on many adventures, and tonight is going to perform for us a musical interlude. Steffani Jemison, who most recently, among many other activities, wrote a beautiful text and choreography that was presented here in response to Senga Nengudi and Maren Hassinger lifelong collaboration. And who am I? Oh, Jonathan González, who is late, but choreographer and writer Jonathan González, who, in his own words, has Senga on his mind every time he makes new work.
Hi, Senga.
Hello. I wish I could be there in the flesh. This is the next best thing.
It's pretty good, because we have you on 2 screens right now.
Oh, God.
I just wanted to say hi and talk a little bit about how you and I first met. And really the beginning of the book for me started with this trip that Bobby Jo, the designer, and I made to Colorado Springs to, just kind of dive in. And it was a really special week for me. I had just started working here, actually. So it was like, I just felt like I had the best job ever. Like, how did this happen to me that I was hanging out with you in your studio? And we talked a lot about what you wanted the book to do. We talked about putting your process on the page, which I think we really did with this book. We also talked about some alternative titles that didn't make it, but I think are pretty good, like Material Girl. Out of that time, The Next Step. And I just remember asking you, like, what you wanted the book to do, and you said, I wrote it down, to charge people up to take the next step. And I think something that's been really special is the dynamic that the three of us have had in making this book. And I know also you have this like wonderful relationship with Bobby Joe. So anyway, I just wanted to say that.
I want to say it's such a pleasure to see this manifested. Finally, you all gave your heart to it, which I so appreciate. And, it was very special that you took that much time to really research all of this and to get myself in the book in terms of process. So I appreciate that very much.
Great. Well, let's begin.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bobby Joe Smith III. I had the distinct honor and privilege to work on the design of this book. When hiring a designer, it takes a leap of faith that they're going to help execute your vision. It's a collaborative process, and I am incredibly grateful and appreciative for Senga to have the willingness and insistence to have me work on this book, to take her work and present it in book form. I also had the privilege of being able to meet her in person. Oh, this is going on its own. To meet her in person in Colorado Springs. I can admit that I wasn't aware of Senga's work before I started on this book. One of the wonderful things about being a designer is you get to learn about many topics as you're working on the design of whatever it is as you go along. And so really my first experience with Senga was with meeting her in person. And I think one of the things that was really powerful when I got there is how at home I felt right away. It felt like speaking with one of my aunties, who I love and care about very much, and who literally just called me yesterday to make sure that I was doing okay. But we went there, and I was hoping that, I'm going to see the studio, I'm going to see the process, and hopefully from there get some insights about how I want to move forward with the design of this book. And I left there feeling more about the insights that I had as an artist in the artistic process. I was, at the time, getting my MFA in media arts at UCLA, and so it was my final year. And it was very important to me to see somebody operate with such intentionality and such care, to open her studio space to us, to open her home. And I got to see little things that make a difference. The pride that her son had in showing the studio and her work, the side space that she has to gather her thoughts and to center herself before working. Being brought into her home, hearing more about her life, the tremendous amount of love and loss, the struggles and the triumphs, a lot of the themes that you see in her work and that you see throughout the book, because there's so many materials that show the process of how she made, the thinking that she has when she's writing and putting her work in her journal. I got to really see that as I was putting the book together And it was reassuring for me as an artist. And I left there feeling like I might not have known Senga's work beforehand, but I left there knowing this is important because it's important to me. It's going to be important to other artists who are like me to be familiar with not only her work, but what it meant to make that work. I made this poster and thinking about her work. The book itself, there are a lot of people who have voices and intentions. It's a collaborative project, as I mentioned, and a lot of people have hopes. This was a passion project for the people that worked on it. A lot of people had high hopes for it and what they wanted out of it. And you're balancing all of these sort of competing, I wouldn't say competing, but all these different hopes that people have for it when putting it together. And with this, I guess with the poster, I kind of got to just do what I felt like I learned from Senga, which was I gave myself today, I gave myself this morning, and the amount of time it took me to fly from LA to New York to work on this. I set my mind. I went through the materials again and revisited the book and kind of got to think through all those memories, and they just started to make. And one of the things that kind of came to me is like when this book is very much about process, about the sequencing of the images, about black bodies moving through space, and about the community that Senga built throughout her career. Collaboration is challenging. To be able to have the people that she's worked with in her life, it came from who she is as a person, how she cares for other people. I was there with her for 2 days, and I got to sense how special that is and how special she makes other people feel. And so I wanted on this page I really wanted to think of like Senga and friends, because so much of her work is coming from these relationships that she's built with people and the places that she's lived and the experiences that she's had, and it just bleeds into her work everywhere. So I made this just thinking about black bodies in space, thinking about movement, thinking about uncertainty, thinking about some of the poetry that she wrote, and wanting to sort of exemplify that on the page. This is less about, well, I guess I'll say throughout the making of the book, I continually wanted to take all of the images and just mash them together. I wanted to mash them together because I wanted to see what conversations happened when you put them side by side. That's not exactly what you should do in an archival process. You know, there's a little bit more, you want to talk about the chronology of how things happen. Maybe you want to separate things by medium, allow those other types of relationships to happen. But I kept finding myself in designing the book and designing the spreads, wanting to just take all these different pieces and really just sort of mash them together and see what conversations happen by being side by side. So I got to do this, I presented to you, Senga, and I just want to say thank you and how much I appreciate getting to know you during this process. The care that you showed me without really knowing me, even checking in on me when we were flying out of Colorado to make sure that we were okay. Just those little touches all make such a really big difference. I want to thank Senga, Camila, Svetlana, Matilde, and the many, many others who contributed to this project and helped make it possible and helped make it what it is today. So thank you all. You get to hear from many of them. And I hope you enjoy the book, Senga, as much as I enjoyed going through your work and really getting to learn from you and developing myself as an artist and as a designer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Matilde. Can I ask you, Bobby Joe, where we can get this gorgeous poster? It's an idea. Beautiful. True to Senga Nengudi's work, it's an idea. This is gorgeous. Steffani and I were just sitting next to each other being like, where can we get this? Because we want to live with this. I'm so happy to be here. It's really a moving night. And mostly when I got the email from Svetlana, I just said yes immediately because gave me an excuse to publicly say, I love you, Senga.
Oh, Thomas T, I love thee.
And I want to just tell you a few of the reasons I love you. First of all, you give artistic permission and charge us all up. And so when Linda Good Bryant, your dear friend, constant collaborator, my dear friend, constant collaborator, and I were making the Just Above Midtown exhibition at MoMA, which your work, Senga, literally gave it air. The exhibition poster for that show has an image of Senga performing her air propos, which is included in this beautiful book. And in that book, you use air as a material. And as we were working for many years trying to bring this space of Just Above Midtown that had existed in the past into life again, or recognize how it had lived already in many relationships, but wanted to bring in more people into those relationships, it was through that air that we did it. And so this title of Populated Air feels like such a gift to all of us. I also just want to say, as we were thinking, Linda and I, about how to tell the story of Just Above Midtown, Svetlana, your work, your approach to narration, your sense of humor, and your way of bringing many different voices together to tell a story was a point of reference for me. So it's just another kind of braid and moment of collaboration to say thank you for. And yeah, just Matilde and Bobby Joe, this book is just so stunning. This is just like such a, it feels, there's a poem I think Senga might read called Assurances, and there's a line where Senga says that, what ritual offers is the chance through millennia for the threading of remembering and forgetting and remembering again. And this book offers like a kind of material and also totally evanescent form for doing that kind of remembering and forgetting. So thank you for this. I'm gonna read 3 poems of yours, Senga, just because they're fucking great, and I just want everybody to hear your voice. But before I do, I was writing an essay about physics, which is something you discuss in this book and your interest in physics, for the Studio Museum. And I closed my eyes and I was thinking like, okay, let me think of like the most quintessential artist. Like what does an artist do? And I thought, okay, an artist is somebody who stretches pantyhose. An artist is somebody who spills sand. An artist is somebody who dances with their friends. And it like, when I think of artist, like no qualifier, Senga, your work is the work that in my mind's eye I think of. And I that's because of the generosity of your practice, that like, one, you have continue to allow yourself to challenge yourself, and even as you called me multiple names, like that's a thing that I learned from you, that you get to just exist in the world as multiple people because that's just creatively what's required. And so I feel like even as you have multiple names, many of us in this room, we carry your name in our name. And so hopefully in speaking your words, that's a version of trying to carry that forth. So the 3 poems I'm going to read, I think, speak to 3 things I've learned from you. One is the value of indebtedness. The second is the materiality of an idea or a dream. And the last one is how a relation can be lived out in memory, like it can actually continue to exist in memory. So, okay, I'll start with costume. Costume someone floated by wearing in my dream last night. Dreamed I was in sort of an underground museum happening situation with different things happening in different caverns, but everything was very white and light-filled. My thought as I looked at it all was, why can I think of such fab things? But the truth is, I can because I'm the one who's dreaming it. Plus Kaya was with me. She broke a kind of Japanese wooden bowl. I looked on the bottom of it to see the price, $11. I thought, oh no, I have to pay for it. thought about hiding it. Then I thought, that's not right. I have to pay for it. This is weary, wary, which are two words I just never know the difference of. So I appreciate putting them next to each other. And the feeling you describe in this poem, Senga, is a feeling I can resonate with. I am weary, wary of art. My heart's no longer in the game. I've never been good at games. Anyway, my ego can't take it. It's also hard on the brain. I find no joy in making things. Flop, flop, fizz, fizz. Even thinking art and thinking up art holds absolutely no thrill appeal at all. The weight of creativity is too much to bear. What do I do with this revelation for the day? Art has always been my friend, my companion through thick and thin. It's given me everything. Me, the legend, love, on occasion, money, recognition, friendships, camaraderie. It's not art's fault I couldn't find that key to unlock the whole of me, the freedom key to access me. I tell you, I'm done, I'm through. Close the door behind you. I will have to meet you art anew before I shake this no more art blues. Right now, it feels so good simply not to think about you. And the last poem I'll read is Julian Schnabel on Charlie Rose. Well, the date is February 1st, 2008, midnight. I have no idea why I'm awake at this hour. I had a very full, active day. I've not journaled in this book in 6 months. I have a number of books, and I'm not consistent with any of them. Oh well. Earlier in the night, actually just an hour ago, Julian Schnabel was on Charlie Rose. As with most artists, all artists, he said, he likes to make things. When he said that, all of a sudden my thought was, I like to think things. This was huge because it has puzzled me throughout my life and career, why I'm not particular about having and wanting to make things. What a relief. I've often read, the idea is the thing. I knew the answer, and I didn't know I knew it. Thank you, Senga, for charging us all up.
Thank you, T. This was beautiful. I must say, everybody who, as we were preparing this evening, everybody was like, oh, I want to read this one. It's like, oh, it's my favorite. And then I realized everyone is my favorite. So it's a great pleasure. And another thing, Senga, one of the beautiful things of working with you is that you give so much license to your collaborators. And one of the most fun moments for us, for Svetlana and me, it was the moment when we would propose titles for your works, and you would generally be on board with them. So please join me in welcoming Jonathan González now.
Senga, I haven't met you in person, but I feel like I've been with you for a long time. And you prompted me tonight to move, and I'm not going to say no to Senga. So I'm going to be moving, but I will also get other people in here to move too.
Good.
I'm taking off my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. If they don't fit, make it work. Walk a mile in my shoes. If they don't fit, make it work. Mind your way. This way. This way. I always thought that I'd be a dancer for Pina Bausch. Look where I ended up.
Okay. I've always had a desire, a yearning to time travel.
I've always had a desire, a yearning to time travel.
I have always had a desire, a yearning to time travel.
I have always had a desire, a yearning to time travel.
I have always had a desire, a yearning to time travel.
I have always had a desire or yearning to time travel.
I have always had a desire, a yearning to time travel.
I have always had a desire, a yearning to time travel.
I have always had a desire, a yearning to time travel.
I have always had a desire, a yearning to time travel.
I have always had a desire, a yearning to time travel.
I always thought I'd be a dancer for Pina Bausch. Look where I ended up. Thank you.
I was just telling T that I wore my tallest shoes today, thinking that they would bring me to the level of all of the other incredible speakers, but no, nothing could lift me to the level of T, and certainly nothing could lift me to Jonathan's level. I don't know, I would need platform. I would need something totally different, which is amazing. Thank you so much, Jonathan, that was beautiful. Thank you to everyone who has shared their thoughts and their experience as fellow travelers with Senga. It's been such a pleasure for me to think alongside her work, in particular in relation to the Artists on Artists lecture I gave last year, but also more broadly in connection to you and support of and inspiration for my practice over many decades. I'm going to speak a little bit today about the performance Flying. One sunset during the summer of 1982 in Los Angeles, Senga with her friends Marin Hassinger, Ulysses Jenkins, Franklin Parker, accompanied by Wana Nash, Nasty, Lofty Amono, and Ndugu Jungles, performed a work called Flying. The flyer for the performance, see what I did there? It's already starting. The flyer for the performance, which is here on the left, is a drawing that shows the United States of America and the continent of Africa connected by a giant poof, a thundercloud speared by lightning striking every which way. The cloud, to me, looks very thick, almost solid. The way in movies a superhero kind of evaporates into smoke, but you know that smoke tastes sweaty and probably tastes even a little bloody. That's what this cloud looks like to me. It looks thick and solid enough to hide somebody or solid enough to hold somebody. And although you can't tell which way exactly the flying is it happening toward the United States or toward the continent of Africa? Is it toward, maybe upward, toward some kind of floaty, cloudy heaven over the Atlantic in between? You can tell that the pathway is electric. July 6th turned out to be a beautiful day with a high in the low 70s and no rain at all, no lightning, just good energy. In one photo of the performance, Hassinger and Nengudi balance and releve as though they're on a balance beam, wearing all white like angels, their afros in silhouette like the blackest kind of halo. And then in another photo, you see their arms float overhead. You can no longer see their feet. In the bright artificial light, it looks as though they are glowing. It's like they're levitating. It looks like liftoff. I bet some of you grew up with the same story I did, a story called All God's Children Had Wings, which was published as a children's book by Virginia Hamilton, and is itself based on a folktale that was beautifully captured by Langston Hughes in his 1958 book of Negro folklore, co-edited with Arna Bontemps. The Hughes version was told to him by a man named Caesar Grant, a laborer on Johns Island off the coast of South Carolina, which you may have heard of because it was the home of a major rebellion by enslaved and free Black people during the 18th century. John's Island is surrounded by creeks and swamps and oceans. Caesar Grant told Langston Hughes that once all Africans could fly like birds, but owing to their many transgressions, their wings were taken away. There remained here and there in the sea islands like John's Island and out-of-the-way places in the low country, some who had been overlooked and had retained the power of flight, though they looked like other men. And then Caesar Grant shared with Hughes a story in which a group of enslaved people, frightened by a master and overseer who were increasingly brutal with the whip, had reached their wits' end. Grant said that recently arrived to the plantation was a man only recently brought from Africa. He said that the man, quote, said something loudly to all the Negroes in the field, the new Negroes and the old Negroes. And as he spoke to them, they all remembered what they had forgotten and recalled the power which once had been theirs. Then all the Negroes, old and new, stood up together. The old man raised his hands, and they all leaped up into the air with a great shout, and in a moment were gone, flying like a flock of crows over the field, over the fence. Caesar Grant said, the master, the overseer, and the driver looked after them as they flew beyond the wood, beyond the river, miles on miles, until they passed beyond the last rim of the world and disappeared in the sky like a handful of leaves. They were never seen again. I think about that story for so many reasons. I mean, one day, let's talk about how we find the courage to pass beyond the rim of the world we know. Let's talk about that. But for today, what I'm thinking about is how the story shifts from this more familiar bird metaphor, soaring like a flock of crows, to this other thing, this leaf metaphor, to fly or float or disappear like a handful of leaves. I'm thinking about how it feels to suspend, to balance, to be patient, to spread your hands the way that Senga, Marin, and their friend Frank Parker waited and balanced and were patient and spread their hands standing on grass, surrounded by leaves, surrounded by your friends, conjuring some kind of invisible field together. The way that leaves or spores balance on a branch and wait to catch the air. It reminds me of something I learned recently about spiders and how they fly. And I was thinking about spiders because last year during the lecture I gave in this room about Marin and Senga's collaboration, I spoke a little bit about friendship and working together and community, and I digressed for a moment about spiders. And I said that I can't be the only one who's imagined life as a spider happily surrounded by the silky extensions of my own skinny limbs, that it was like a fantasy, like sitting in my own lap. So most of us think of spiders as land animals. I'm using big quotes around land and animals. Most of us think of spiders as land animals. We think of spiders as beings that are tethered to the ground, to the walls, to branches, to thresholds, like windows and doors, to screens and lampposts, to corners, and to intersections. But while spiders don't have wings, they do indeed fly. I was actually kind of horrified to read this. And they do it through a process called ballooning. Sometimes it's called kiting, like a kite that you fly. The spider crawls as high as she can. She orients her belly toward the sky. She goes up on her tiptoes. She spits out that gossamer spider stuff. And she waits to be lifted by a big gust or a small breeze, or even the static electric field that hums around the earth when there is no wind at all is enough to lift the spider. And once that thread catches the air, she can ride it anywhere from a few yards to a few miles. I learned that samples of the atmosphere captured many, many kilometers above the ground often contain spiders. I learned that spiders have been found floating smack dab in the middle of the ocean many thousands of miles from land. They can live like this for months. Walt Whitman wrote a really beautiful poem about this phenomenon, and he wrote, "A noiseless, patient spider launched forth filament, filament, filament out of itself, ever unreeling them, ever tirelessly speeding them." And he wrote, "You, O my soul, where you stand, surrounded, detached in measureless oceans of space, ceaselessly musing, venturing, throwing, seeking the spheres to connect them till the bridge you will need be formed, till the ductile anchor hold, till the gossamer thread you fling catch somewhere, O my soul." I think of Senga and Marin and their friends with their arms lifted somewhere in the dark, musing, venturing, throwing. I think of the many spheres they sought and seek to connect, and how long you sometimes have to wait for the anchor to find a hold. I was 6 months old in 1982 during this performance. Senga didn't know it, but my artist self was waiting somewhere to catch and to be caught. I was one of so many of us. So I want to finish by thanking you, Senga, for having the courage and the fearlessness and patience to wait until we could meet you on the other side. I love being part of this bridge. I absolutely love it, and I share these words in gratitude and celebration. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to thank Matilde and Svetlana for involving me in this magnificent project. I saw an exhibition of Senga's work at the Hirshhorn Museum in Washington, D.C., where I live. I call it Weimar, D.C. these days. But I have not met the woman. I wish that I had, and I hope that I would do. It was a real pleasure to dig around in her work and in her life and in her notes and find this poem. Having heard the other remarks, I want to revise it, but I guess I'm not allowed. Having written the poem, I had to find a title, and I couldn't find a satisfactory one until the image of Big Bird came upon the screen. And I said, of course, sing a song. Well, there it is. I hope you appreciate the humor. Senga Nengudi is before us inside a wrap of indeterminate fabric. It would be true of her to be gowned in plastic bin bags, but we do not know the truth of this. She is cast as a found object. It is already art. We need not intervene. The splash spots are decoupage for the creases of the carapace. Shredded paper warms the neck of her. Her head plays a stone upon a boulder. One baleful eye stares out, condemns us for reasons best not stated. In Last Year at Marienbad, Alain Resnais bobbed the eye among human statues, elegant, aloof, accessible only to themselves, and so made a dance of the sight of persons we dare not know. Senga Nengudi works from the other side of artifice when she animates made stuff with the contemplative movement of bodies inside and around forms she has made new and alive in a way that makes us say, of course that grew here, and stretched its appendages up and abroad from its source on the colony on the wall. The made thing of the made thing, so mundane we could not consider it without the intervention of the hand and eye of the artist. The innocuous, diurnally mundane, annoyingly, or so we assume, essential pantyhose. Sing the word. pantyhose. It swings a little. It makes the day succeed as it touches what it touches, shapes what it shapes, warms what it warms, and then must end its mundane days in the cursed landfill of discarded and decayed things. We thought little of it when it served us. We think nothing of it now. But the artist does not think like us. Certainly, she does not see like us. What we have made, used, and discarded can be made again into a complex thing that appends about the room. Oh, look how it composes at the heart, how it grows to the source of the light. Oh, listen, Coltrane's voice has entered the room and is about to enter us as he has animated the supple woman who moves into what Senga has imagined into being. Of all the material of which art is made, the dancer's body is the most marvelous in the way it denies the constraints we know it to have. In the form of childbirth, the artist stretched and stretched until she burst and made her greatest work. And then she settled back to her original construction. Now she puts the dancer into the made piece where she sweetly lifts, spreads, bends, and lands so lightly she seems never to know the purger of the floor. Who better to cite this brilliant artifact than the artist? She sees ritual in the assembly, says ritual makes community, and community does need to be made at a time and place like ours, which appears to decompose as it thrives, and so cannot survive without a certain unhealthy dualism. And who but the artist can find that essential element of juju in the artifact and the creation of the artifact? Only a fool would deny the call to reason, but it is the reasonable fool who knows the applied evolutionary discipline of the quick intuition, which is the means and matter of art. She can cast her dream static or in motion, or in animation of the molded static thing. How valiant an artist must be to deny the antique master's futile quest for the indelible as the way to have done with death, which eventually will come for the master's pieces too, no matter how many stone and marble crypts we build around them. No, Senga says, let us put art in the weather beneath the freeway. Let the jazz horn swap full-bar licks with the truck horns. Let the dancer spin in the air before the children and the needful, and let them ask what and how and why was that, and I saw and heard and marvel at and will marvel at until it goes wherever memory drifts away to when dreams leave the dream place in the mind. And unlike the conscious mind, can never know where it goes until it arrives, or even be certain where it has been until it leaves. We think we know, but we do not. We think we know what space is, or what a named thing is, but we cannot know unless the artist touches it and spells it out for us. And then we can at least relax before the mystery and say to ourselves, well, it is art, and it will overcome the distance that all imposes on us. Place is elemental to art. Place tells you whether the song will echo or travel on until it dissipates into some other star. Place tells us, here is the thing. It need not be still or pledge its shape or name. It need only sing to us in the silence of the artist's voice. Yet the world demands of the made work that it declare its tribe. If the made work is more than black, is it any less black? If the woman has lived inside the matter of the work, has she invested it or divested it? What performance is demanded of the materialist me when the ritual arrives and percusses all over him, her, them? Must he, she, they, he dance it or deploy the shekere until the rhythm animates the crowd in the manner of the ecstatic dervish Coltrane came to be when he pledged to make saints of us all? What can the godless hope to feel at the touch of the juju and the swirl of the dance Is it the investment of the ancestors or the idea of the ancestors? Who is the atheist anyway without a God to deny? Senga has written, ritual builds community. Ritual is in the collective arrival at the act of the maker, the communal touch at the delivery of new life, the sweet chorus, the environmental harmony in the sound of we, especially when she has allowed them to bring their instruments. Butch Morris brought his little horn. Marin Hassinger brought the form that will animate the lines that Senga sculpts of the thin brown mesh. What more eloquent contradiction is there than the still shot of the dancer in flight? Her body bent into a geometry ancient in its enclosure of space, as its silent voice tells us that freedom is optional if we have the form for it. And yes, there are Senga's lines to celebrate the flight and feed our sight with the dimension artfully contrived. See, the inherent failure of simile is that it defines the image with another image, which if any good must contradict as much as it confirms. And so the human body as made work, ignited by form, and the stuff of form that activates and is activated by the body's leaps and contortions, and Coltrane wants to make me, of all people, into a saint. Senga's dance moves the made form and so diverts its appendages and makes it new, which is the primary standard of jazz, old and vanguard. The stand, stuffed joints, and feet of the thing give it a place to stand, a need all sentient beings share if they are to declare themselves primary. Even as we all must accept death's hand, geometry, attachment, motion, stability, the attitude of the remade thing, the way that music animates space and gives the evolved form a voice from this angle, a home from another. Myself wants no manifesto. Myself is black and more than black and no less black for it. Myself searches and cannot name the object of its search, though it knows what it must conquer and what it must elevate. Myself is restless and settles best in song freely blown. Myself rises against the terror of the day, which would renew the awful state it was born into. No, myself will not have that. Myself will have done with the fear of death, even as it demands no eternal life. Myself will find a space where art is made to move to the onward elevation of Coltrane's lines. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Hello. Hi, Senga.
Hi, Uni.
Hi. Senga, let me be not the first and definitely not the last person tonight to also say that I love you. I love you so much.
Yeah, me too.
I don't think there's enough breath or brain inside of me to say everything that I want to say about Senga and what she means to me and what I know she means to so many of the amazing people in this room. So I will just speak and play from the heart. Senga and I first met in 2016, became quick friends and then collaborators. And I met Senga at probably the most volatile and transformative period of my life. Any astrology heads here, it was my Saturn return, which lasted many, many, many extra years. But to know and then to love and to be loved by someone like Senga and to be able to share a little bit of this life alongside her has been one of the most important and beautiful gifts and treasures of my life. Senga is a friend. She's also a family and a mentor and a collaborator. She's the first person who insisted that she call me she, even at a time when I was so scared to claim it. Senga is somebody that I think about every day, and she is the godmother and namesake of my future child. Senga, many of you may also know, is a prolific trickster. So in addition to sharing with you this performance score from April 17th, I'm also going to share from the archives of C. Gigglesworth, one of Senga's lesser-known personas. The text of this piece was the first thing that I thought of this morning and will be the last thing that I think about before I drift to sleep tonight. And she says, "Say, think one word all day long, even when talking to others, even when talking and thinking to yourself. Make it a verb, like sing, give, move, sing, move, give, sing, move." How does the moon's barber style her head? He clips. I once taught a wolf to meditate. Now he's a werewolf. And this next one is fresh from earlier today. Did you see the snail? The snail riding on a turtle's back? You know what the snail said? Whee! So if you're Russian when you're going into the bathroom and you're Finnish when you come out, what are you when you're inside? European. So, what did the Buddhist say to the hot dog vendor? Make me one with everything. Say, think, one word all day long, even when talking to others, even when talking and thinking to yourself. Make it a verb, like sing, move. Thank you.
I don't know what to say. I am just overwhelmed with the expressions of love that I just experienced. I really am so excited that you get me. My gosh, you really get me. Oh, holy jamoli. And you're taking it to its next level, whatever that looks like for you. So I'm going to read 3 of my artist statements. Really, that's what they are. And I thank you. And I really, at some point, I really want to Marin and Thomas Urban and Linda Bryant, if she's in the house, I'd love for them to stand because they were my beginnings. They were the people that had faith in me, even as strange as it all looked. And with me and Marin, we had faith in each other that we could do what we wanted to do in the way we wanted to do it. So I'm going to read. Those doing ritual have the assurance of time. Individual acts of art do not have to depend on permanence of the materials, only the permanence of the soul. World, soul, without, in. I create a piece. I wipe it out with my hands, my feet, my body. It remains in the fabric of time, threading through the millennia, remembered and forgotten. 1,000 times over, yet there, seen, not seen, experienced as part of the air. That's a 1. Okay, here's 2. Seated as on thrones, the chorus of before called down to us. Be careful. Mind your way. This way. This way. And finally, lilies of the valley unite, or not. Me being me, being, is not an action verb. While others of my sort bang about creating monuments of steel, marble, granite, this is what the craft's all about. Working hard with pleasure, pounding things out, is a pleasurable pursuit. Working hard as I hardly work, I relish in creating art wherever my lazy eye finds it. My colleagues work hard to bring their plans to fruition. Giant canvases packed with color, rooms filled with stuff, strategically placed. Then am I the queen bee, content to have my grapes peeled, or not, content to watch the workers scurry about. I take a pointer, touch an object, and say, there, I proclaim you art, as a queen would say to a knight. Problem is, nobody recognizes this process of art. There is no stamina involved. Thinking time is minimal. Hands-on, barely. Lilies of the valley unite. I think not. Lilies of the valley don't do a damn thing. Yet our presence is felt like an anarchist because we do indeed exist. Boom, boom.